Hi, this is Peter with Weeby Evangelism, and I want to talk today about stories of how the Holy Spirit, how the Lord led us at certain times, and a lot of it has to do with protection. But I want to start off with Psalm 23, verse 4. It says, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I fear no evil, for you are with me." And David says, "Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." And those words are so big, they comfort me. Your rod and your staff. I heard someone say one day about the rod and the staff. That they had more in mind of a shepherd beating his sheep, but that's not really the case. When animals like we grew up with goats and we still have goats, and it is like when they hear your voice, and cattle the same way. When they hear your voice, it comforts them because they know you're near, and it is so cool. Like in life, when you're going through things like it says in verse 4, even though I walk through the valley, but I'm comforted because your rod and your staff. And to me, like the staff is his voice, because then you're not all up in the air like, oh my God, what's going on? It's like, no, like the Lord is talking to you. And so, yeah. And so today I want to share some of those things. And I want to start off in 2013. There was an ice storm, and the power was out for 3 days total in East Texas. And so after about 2 days of the lights are where we lived at the time, we didn't have like a propane heater, or everything was electric. So we went to our in-laws, and you know how it is. You're always ready to get back home with your kids. And so it was the second day, and I remember it was cold, and I was at work. I was working on a ranch, and I heard the word re-evacuate. So we had to evacuate our house, go to our in-laws. So here's the second day. I heard re-evacuate. And I was like, because that morning, Jackie, my wife, and the kids had gone back to the house because the lights had come on after 2 days. But then I heard that word, and then moments later, Jackie texted and said the lights are back out. And I said, yeah, I said, don't stay at home, just go back to our in-laws, because I heard the Lord say re-evacuate. And so we did. We spent the night at there again. But before that, so when I got home from work, I went back to the house to feed the dogs because we left them there. And when I drove up to the house, I noticed all the company electrician, like the company trucks were there, the power, the ones that fix the power, the power outage. There was at least 3 or 4 trucks there. Then the lights were on. The neighbors, their lights were on because you could see it because it was getting dim. Yeah, and I mean the sunlight, there wasn't much sunlight, so you could see the lights in the neighbors' houses. And you could tell the smile on the neighbors. They're all excited. They're outside looking at these people working on fixing everything up so we'd have electricity again. And so, like, naturally, your mind would have said, hey, well, let's come home as well. The lights are on. Everybody's here. But I just thought about that word. Like, no, about 4 or 5 hours earlier, the Lord said re-evacuate, which my wife did. I'm just here feeding the dogs. And I'm like, no, we're not going to come home because the Lord said to re-evacuate. And so we're going to go. So I just fed the dogs and went back to their in-laws. And so then early in the morning, I went to our house again to feed our dogs again. And you know what? Everything was dark. Everything was pitch black. And I think about it. I'm like, thank God, the Lord, think about it. If we would have said, let's just go home, all the lights were on in the evening. All the trucks were there. The power company trucks were there to fix everything. But yeah, it was total darkness. And I'll never forget that. And that is, to me, that is the Lord. He is your shepherd. He will lead you and guide you, give you heads up. And it's, yeah, when you get to that point where you take comfort and embrace his words and his, and what he's saying. And so there was a number of things. Yeah, so throughout the week, the Lord prompted me to use this power outage example. And then when I thought about the power outage example, it's like, man, there's just so many instances in life like where this has happened. And it happened just yesterday. The Lord said something like that this and this would happen, like a person would do this and this, which is kind of really unusual. And then about 30 minutes later, it happened. It's like, it's like it comes to the point where there's not much that happens without some type of heads up. And then sometimes when something happens, it's like, Lord, you didn't say nothing about that. But most often, it's like, if you just take time to think, it's like, yeah, he already did say something or give you a heads up. if you just connect the dots. And so, but one of the other examples I thought about was, man, this is some years ago when we went to Mexico a number of times, and I went with some friends from New Mexico. So we went, and I was, yeah, so I was the last guy on the team. I was the youngest person. I kind of was out of the norm, you know. But anyhow, so sometimes I say I was like the runt on the team, you know. But anyway, so we went to multiple locations in Mexico, and there was one location that we went to. The local church there was way, way off in the mountains, and it took 4 hours to drive there. And so, and we had been there the previous year, and so this year, the team leader was like, we're gonna let's how about we take and this was planned several days ahead of time to take a boat and go down a river, and you get there like it didn't take long to get there then versus driving 4 hours. And man, we were all excited about it. Like, yeah, that would be awesome, going down the river in a boat, and so the local church was prepared for that we'd come down the river instead of down the dirt road. But then the night before we went, we were in Mexico in a hotel, and then the Lord woke me up and He said, "Do not go down that river." And I knew that was God. But what I'm thankful for is that when I told my friend, I was me and my friend was in one room, and then some of the other team was bunked together in some other rooms. And I was so glad I told my friend right away in the morning, and then he told the team leader. But I was so glad that I didn't have to like talk them into not going. I mean, I said it one time, and they're like, okay, so we're not gonna go. And I'm thankful for that. And I think sometimes just by being obedient, you don't see the chaos that could have happened. And it was something, because when we did drive 4 hours again and we got there, they had a banner, on the by the river, welcome brothers, like in Spanish. And then the team lead was like, man, maybe we should have come down the river after he saw the preparations they had made. But you know what? We should never do that as far as get emotional and say, no, let's cut corners, even though we know and felt the Lord say this. I mean, think about what we could have think about what we did avoid by not going down that river, even though that's what we wanted to do, and how much fun it would have been. And so there was another time, and it's you know how the Lord will lead in different ways. And another time we went to Veracruz, Mexico, and this year it was really like the way God moved there among the youth. I had an opportunity to speak to the youth, and I've never have seen God move in such a way like all I can explain, it was like the glory, like heavy, heavy, heavy presence of God there. But on the way down there, we flew to Mexico City, and then we went to Veracruz. It was a small airport, where you just get outside, like you don't have where do you call it, where you get off, you go straight into the airport. They drop the stairs or whatever, you go down on the ground. And then they had and this was whenever the drug war was, at its peak in Mexico. And so everybody had like a green light just to walk through the airport, but then I got a red light. So they started checking my bags, and man, it was a long story. Like this, the airport security had a drug dog. Their drug dog was going nuts over my bags. I didn't have anything in there, of course not, except for like thousands of gospel tracts, and they took everything out of my bags. But as they was doing that, they went and got the federal rallies, whatever, the federal police. They came, and they also had a dog, and their dog also went nuts. And so that the lady that stopped me at the beginning, she's like, "Can't you see what these dogs are doing?" I'm like, "Yeah," but I said, "Man, yeah, you can go through all my stuff." I said, like, I mean, of course I ain't got nothing. I told them what we were there for. So they took out all of my tracks. I didn't know how many gospel tracks I had in Spanish, but they told me you have this many thousand. I'm like, "Oh, thanks." They counted everything. They took pictures of everything. And the whole time, like it says in Psalm 23, your staff, your rod and your staff, they comfort me. His voice, but it was his peace. I had such peace. And the thing about it was, like I told you in the beginning, I was the run of the team. Always that way, but so there was two vans that pulled up to the airport, and one van thought I was in this van, and the other people in that van thought I was in that van, and they took off. And then they left me there. And then with all the security there and them going through my bags, they're like, who are you with? I'm like, I'm with them. But then they left me. So now it appeared that I said a lie. Plus the two dogs are going nuts. And I'm like, oh man, but there was just amazing peace that was on me. And then there was, and then the federales came there with the black mask and AR-15. So I was surrounded by them. And then by then the airport, it was a small airport. It had shut down already. Everybody's gone except me and all these law enforcement, the military. There was a military that also came. The guys dressed in green. So there's about 4 to 6 guys in them, and they had a perimeter. And you know how it is in Mexico, the cartels. If you arrest one, their buddies will come and shoot you out and get you out of there. So that's what they had. There was 3 perimeters. First, it was airport security. Then there was the federales. They were surrounded. And then there was the military in green. They were surrounding there. But in the midst of all that, had such peace. And then they called and the guns everywhere. And then they called the manager of the airport, because they told me, we have called her. She was at home, so here she comes. And she comes with her bodyguards, shotguns, and Uzis. And so they walked into this office. And then when they walked into the office, by that time, my friends had already realized that I was missing, because they knew, or one group of the team had been there earlier in the day. And so one van went to the pastors. Some of their family had a restaurant. So some went to the restaurant and some went to the hotel. So there again, one thought I was there and one thought I was here. But my friend, Gustavo Marin, I'm so thankful. And that is so cool, because if there was anybody that I trusted that would hear God, it would be him. And you know what? God was speaking to him. And God put in his heart that Peter is receiving opposition. Peter's receiving opposition, but he's like, man, he's at the hotel, What could he be going through? But then he started calling. And he's like, no, he's not here. And that's when they realized they left me behind. And so, yeah, so by that time, they already showed back up. And I'm like, look, there they are right there. They just left me. And so while the manager to the airport and everybody was in this little room, they were talking it over. I could hear them. But I heard the Lord say, he said, I am the highest rank of authority. Because you had all these different levels of authority there. And I was in my peace. I was not disturbed. In my peace, I heard the Lord say that. I am the highest rank of authority. And after I heard that, they opened the door, and she was smiling. The girl that first stopped me, that she was part of the airport security. She's like, you're good to go. Everything's fine. So we packed everything up and left. And I'm so thankful, for people who do have ears to hear, because I was hearing God, but I needed them to hear God as well. And he did. And so yeah, that was pretty comforting. And the second year, here we go again. But here's the thing about it: when you keep your cool and when you're at peace, because one of the guys from the team who came pick me up, he was kind of frustrated, can't you? He's with us, like that. And I was actually in the back of my mind, I was like, just shut up, bro. Just be at ease, be at peace. There's no need in being a bad a face, because we represent Christ. I mean, that's just what I was thinking. But the second year, the same thing. We went to the same place, to the same local churches. We were with the same team. So when we pulled up to this small airport again, they led down the stairs, and we all started walking out. And guess what? As soon as I came out the door, I looked, and it was that same lady, the same airport security who pulled me, where I got the red light. We got to check your bags. She locked eyes with me, and I didn't say nothing, but I was thinking, are you serious? You're going to pick on me again? But I noticed she had a big smile on her face. And and nobody got, they didn't have the green, red light. Hey, green, just pass. We won't check your luggage. Red. They didn't have those lights. She just stared me down the whole way as we was walking down, and she just pointed right at me. She said, come here. And she definitely knew who I was. And she just looked at my bag. She didn't open anything, but she just smiled. And she said, may the Lord bless you. And she looked right at me, and she meant what she said. And to me, it's like she was apologizing for the year before. But I think about it is how I was comforted, in Psalm 23, your staff comforts me, so I didn't lose it, because I was hearing his voice. But it also was a good, way to reflect Christ when everything seems to be against you, but I'm chilled. But yeah, so anyhow, that was pretty wild.
I'm Jackie with Weeb Evangelism, and Peter and I want you to know how your seed is making an impact in people's lives, whether it's in the area of prisons and jails, street ministry, providing support to expecting moms in need, or books, or traveling ministry. One of the best ways that you can stay up to date with what we're doing in any of these areas and really just stay in the know of what's going on around here is by signing up for emails on our website, which is weebevangelism.com. We also want to give you the opportunity that if God is putting it in your heart to partner with us and help send us, maybe you can't go yourself and maybe you're not called to go, but you do want to send. You can also find all the giving options and information right there on the website as well. We are so thankful for people like you that really you just love other people so much that you want to be a part of them being reached, them being touched, being rescued by the love of God and by the power of His Word. And so we thank you and we love you, and we are really looking forward to every good thing that God has just ahead for each one of us.